The transfer portal is in full swing. Players coming in, players going out. There's so much to break down. We're going to get into it today on our midweek episode of the Bucky Report.
Welcome to the Bucky Report, your destination for all things Wisconsin Badgers. Authentic takes.
Oh my God.
Game analysis.
Touchdown Badgers! Ring one up!
And discussion from the fan perspective.
Woo-hoo!
Thanks for joining us and on Wisconsin.
Welcome into the Bucky Report. We are your hosts, Rajeev and Justin, in for our midweek episode to talk about all things transfer portal related, maybe a little bit of basketball. There's so much going on, Justin. I mean, it's hard to, in this whole new age of college football, it's like you're basically on one-year contracts, right? I mean, it's just so incredible. So many players coming out, so many players going in. Today, we added Jordan Turner to the outgoings. And we got some incomings to talk about. So, but it's total chaos, man. Total chaos. We are at the Bucky Report on Twitter. Sorry, real quick. We're at the Bucky Report on Twitter, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. If you like what we're doing, hit the subscribe button so you can know when we're making fresh content. What do you think about all this madness, man? I mean, we're going to get into kind of like who's coming in, who's going out, but overall take on the transfer portal and everything that's coming about right now.
With the court ruling in Ohio today, it's even going to get worse.
Yep.
Like if they don't have to, I think what the untold part of this is everyone wants to sit there and talk about how a coach can leave anytime he wants. And so players should have that right. The difference is that's one coach. There are 85 players on a roster, and it's not about the coach having to deal with that. It's about the administrative, like having to deal with that from an administrative standpoint. There is legitimately a possibility here where teams may struggle to actually field a complete roster. Like you could be effectively, if you have a large contingent of players leave after a given season, have like 30 slots to fill before heading into the next season. And that could be insane. Like there's going to be some teams that probably borderline struggle to actually field a team if this goes the most catastrophic way.
Right. And what you're talking about is the ruling that basically allows people to transfer as many times as they want. Does that eliminate the penalty?
Correct. You no longer have to sit out the year.
Right.
If you
basically, what this does is it's like I said in the intro, it's 1-year contracts. You're basically playing for an entirely new college team potentially every single year, and players are going to get left out. There's some players that are going to enter the portal and not find a home, and there's going to be teams that you've said that you can't properly field, and it's truly opening an entire new world in college football. Now, I do want to go on record in saying that I'm a big believer in NIL. I'm a big believer in the players getting compensated for what they're doing because they are making a lot of money for these universities. But I also think that comes with a level of understanding. Now, if you're going to get paid, then I think that there maybe should be some kind of then you have to be here for a couple of years now, right? Or maybe it's like a 2-year thing, or it's a 2-year agreement. If you're going to sign a certain NIL deal, it should be like, okay, you're committing to X number of years here. And I think that's probably the future where we're going, right? Because now that the players are getting paid, there has to be some kind of I think Ryan put it today in our text message about not necessarily unionization, but some kind of formal situation of how this works and how it's centralized and how you're really going to sort of navigate it going forward. Because boy, you could really get into some sticky situations like you mentioned about not being able to field a team. But then the fabric of college football is that loyalty. Like that's what makes college football exciting is you have we're loyal to our school forever. And these players, they join as freshmen, maybe they redshirt a year. We see them for 4 more years after that. We get to know them. We get to like them. But now it's like this 1-year team. That's even different from pro leagues because pro leagues, you have an actual contract. So it'll be very interesting to see how this plays out in the future and then how it affects college football as a whole.
Yeah, it will be interesting in that regard. And it also, we were kind of throwing this back and forth in our chat earlier today. And I said, number one, what has to happen is there has to be some type of oversight with this. If this is the direction we're heading, it either needs to be from the league or it needs to be from the governing body. And I don't know if I want the NCAA being in charge of it because I think that they've proven that they can't be trusted to actually make impartial decisions. So what I would like to see personally is put the stipulations, everything has to be above board. So at that point, it's going to be real NIL deals that can be audited, or we're gonna take the bagman out of the game and effectively say you're gonna have to prove what this is from. And at that point, if you get caught taking money under the table, we're just going to take your eligibility away, and that's how we're going to do it going forward. So you have the right to profit off of it, but we're going to take all the seediness out of the sport, and that to me would help go miles towards making people more comfortable with what's happening. Why we didn't do this in the first place, rather than just ramming roughshod through an idea of like, all right, we're going to do NIL. It's like it's almost like the NCAA.
Well, they don't have a choice. The courts that kind of pushed NIL.
Well, there was that, but the NCAA effectively feels like they just kind of thumb their nose at it, like, hey, you wanted it, you got it. Now you can deal with the outcomes of this.
Yeah,
and I think everyone's unhappy with the way it's going outside of probably some of the players. And even them, they probably are not happy about it, because who knows if they're even getting the deals.
Yeah, I mean, my take on it is, in general, is that, look, I'm very happy that players are now, they have a seat at the table, they're getting paid, they absolutely deserved for that for a long time. It's just finding the right system, and it'll shake itself out. They will get there. It's going to take some time, and there's going to be growing pains with it, and there's going to be things that annoy us as fans, that when players leave after 1 year and they're going somewhere else now, and we have people that transfer in and transfer back out, but I think eventually it'll shake out. But let's talk more specifically now about our team, who's coming in, who's coming out with our...
The Bucky reports 3 big things.
It's almost more like 3 big questions this week, Justin. So let's start here. As you know, Tyler Van Dyke is Wisconsin's new transfer quarterback from the University of Miami. He's played there for 3 years. He's played there for 3 years. He's played for 3 years at least. Now, the guy that we also talked about was Daquan Finn from Toledo. So comparing the two of those, Justin, Van Dyke versus Finn, did the Badgers get it right, in your opinion?
I don't think they felt particularly strongly about one or the other, like in terms of what in their decision. It was like they liked them both, and it was, you're kind of choosing how to mold your team around that after. Personally, I think that if you're going to do it, I think Van Dyke actually helps you more in terms of a cohesive, coherent offense, because I have more concerns about the ability to pass the football with Daquan Finn. Like, I really like some of the things athletically that he can do, but if teams start stacking the box, kind of like they've always done against Wisconsin, I'm a little worried that he can't be enough of a passing threat in certain games where it's going to cost us against more athletic teams. And it's like, if he can't move the football, like that's the kind of thing that Tyler Van Dyke has. He's got a cannon for an arm. Like, he can fit some tight windows, and against a very athletic defense, if you can get a step on that corner, he's a guy who's capable of threading that needle. That's something that we have questions on with Daquan Finn. Now, Daquan Finn obviously has the ability to make something out of nothing with his legs. But I think from a cohesive offensive standpoint, I think Tyler Van Dyke is the guy you probably want if you're looking at an offensive scheme and saying, if we're going to run this according to what our plays are, he's the guy that's going to be able to do that much more so than Daquan Finn, where Daquan Finn's going to be a little bit more harder to quantitate what you're actually going to see from him from an offensive standpoint.
Yeah. So for me, Justin, I think we did get it right. We talked about this a little bit on our weekend show. I like Tyler Van Dyke. I think that he brings... Look, I know there's a lot of mixed emotions on Twitter and anywhere you look. It's like, oh, well, I wanted Finn, I wanted Van Dyke. I get it, and it's fine. And the most important thing is we got someone, okay? Because these guys are all going to go off the board really quickly. Mm-hmm. And before the season ended, when we talked about various needs coming into the offseason, we know that we have Braden Locke on the team. We know we have Nick Evers on the team. What we said was we still needed a quarterback, and preferably a veteran quarterback that could come in and basically compete with those guys, likely take the job, and that's okay, while Locke and or Evers, whoever stays, whoever goes, has a chance to develop. And, of course, giving time for Mabry to get in there and see what the future holds there. And it was really to add depth to the room and a potential starter. Well, you did that. You added a guy that played in the ACC. You did add a guy that played in the MAC. I know that Daquan Finn looks really great on film because he's very skilled, but he also played in the MAC. And the MAC is just not the Big Ten. It is the little Big Ten. That's what that is. Like, it's literally teams in the Midwest that aren't the big schools. Mm-hmm. And you just sometimes don't know how that level of competition translates, i.e. Tanner Mordecai playing at SMU and not a major conference. And some of those skills, that passing ability did not really translate. How many times we talk about lack of ability to throw the deep ball accurately, not the biggest arm.
He struggled with the bounce up and athleticism.
Exactly. And not being quick enough with the ball. Well, those things, in my opinion, get solved with Van Dyke because he, as you said, he has a cannon. He's accurate down the field. And I know there are issues with turnovers. I get that. But listen, you're going to get that with any quarterback. You're not, this is not like a Trevor Lawrence guy. This is not one of these top-notch guys. I get it. So it comes with risk. But when you think about Longo's offense, what I see when I think about Longo's offense is heady play, very quick decision-making. And if you watch the film from this guy from Miami, he did that. He made quick decisions. He got the ball out very quickly, and he was decisive with his plays and his passes, which was my biggest knock and one of yours on Mordecai all last year. So while, yes, I would have liked the athleticism that Finn brings, I'm perfectly happy with this. He's a game manager type. He's a one-year quarterback. And we obviously have people in the future, i.e. Locke and Mettauer and Evers, that we want for the future. So we don't need someone who's going to be here for 3 years. I'm okay with this decision, man. I like it. I think that maybe it might not work, but I'm okay with the fact that Finn is not coming here. And I hope that Badger fans come around to him because I think it's a good decision.
See, I don't actually think he's a game manager. I think he's a gunslinger. We talked ad nauseum about how frustrated we were with Mordecai not taking shots downfield. Tyler Van Dyke will take shots downfield. Yeah. He has no problem with taking shots for a big play. The question will be with him is decision making, and if we can have him be clean, he has a chance to have a really good season. I'm a little bit more. You need to show me this year than I was with the Mordecai experience. But the issue with Tyler Van Dyke is that he's actually proven some of it at the Power 5 level. People don't want to take a look back at his freshman film. Like they were talking about him as a first round pick after his redshirt freshman season. Like the guy was electric under Rhett Lashley, which is a similar system to this. Now, can he recapture that? We'll find out. But I'm not gonna hit him too hard with the last couple of years. One, he had Josh Gaddis, who blew up the offense effectively for them. Everyone was playing poorly, apparently, offensively for them under that. And then this last year, I don't know what to take away from it. I've heard things from people saying that a lot of his turnovers this last year were due to him taking shots at the end of the half. So it was kind of forcing the ball downfield, trying to make things happen. If that's the case, okay. I'll live with that stuff because those are the turnovers that don't hurt you. If he's making clean plays, like I said yesterday, what I thought when I talked to Ryan about it, I said, if he has a 20-8 season, do you hate that? It's better than anything we've had in forever. I'm not going to go out there and say he's going to throw 30 touchdown passes, but I think that that's a reasonable season based off of what he's done at the Power 5 level.
And that's when I say game manager. That's where those numbers. That to me is game manager numbers.
And that's fair. That's fair.
It's like I don't expect him to be that world beater. Who the guy we thought Mordecai was. Yeah. I just want someone to come in here and who can actually run Longo's system because Longo's going to make him better.
We'll win 8 to 9 games with that.
Right, and that's kind of that's why I'm happy with it because I'm like, look, we had a tough year when you look at the quarterback play and everything that happened and losses that we didn't expect. So it's okay, but. Speaking of this year a little bit, let's talk about number 2, the outgoings, Justin. And then number 3, we're gonna go through what else is there and also who all is still coming in that we're gonna kind of touch on all those guys. So the outgoings, Jordan Turner is the latest. So let me just quickly kind of go through reminding everybody who's no longer here. So Jordan Turner, Trey Wettig, the offensive lineman, Jordan Mayer, Amon Williams, the cornerback, Chimere Dike, of course, Skylar Bell, Dylan Barrett, Miles Burkett. That is who have left this window. And Tanner Bortolini has declared for the NFL. So congrats to him, by the way, wishing him the best in the NFL. So looking at that list of outgoings, Justin, who's the one that you are most upset about? Like, who's the one that's going to hurt us the most? And then also in general, do you feel like you're happy in a sense about some of these guys leaving? How does this affect the future of the Badgers, the outgoings?
Yeah, I mean, Bortolini is the guy that stands out to me. Like, he's the one guy that I think if you could slide him over to guard, like, he's capable of being an all Big Ten type guard, I think.
Yeah.
I don't love him at center, but it's also possible he makes a massive step going into next year with a year under his belt. So it's one of those things where he, as a blocker at center, he was pretty good. He wasn't great at snapping the football, but you hope that he would continue to get better at that with more time. Now, he really struggled when he had somebody that was stout over him, who was capable of kind of getting him on his heels a little bit. He seemed to lose his accuracy with his snaps because he was too concerned about having to block post snap. So he seemed like he rushed a little bit in some of those games when he faced somebody really good. But yeah, other than that, like there were a lot of guys that underwhelmed this last year that are leaving. And honestly, I think there's going to be a few more. Like there's most of the positions we're seeing guys leave. We kind of talked about these are positions that we were unimpressed with what we saw this season. So it's not shocking to me that we're seeing turnover at these spots, because I think the coaching staff saw the same thing we did, which is, yeah, we need to be better at these spots. And maybe what we have in the room right now isn't the answer.
Yeah. I mean, when I look at a guy like Jordan Turner leaving, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it because how many times we complain about the front seven this play?
I actually assumed it was going to happen.
Yeah, you've heard me say the front seven is a complete wreck, and that's exactly what we needed to focus on. So yeah, as far as I'm concerned, no one other than Bortolini really affects me that much. I'm okay with it because obviously Skylar Bell had a rough year. Now Chimere Dike is probably a guy that I actually really didn't want to leave. I really like Dike and I wanted him to finish his career out in Wisconsin. So that's probably the one that I would say.
I assumed he was gone because I figured he was graduating. So to me, it was like, I didn't think he was going to be here anyways. So it's really not a change to me other than, well, hopefully he has a nice season with whoever he ends up going to. Yeah.
And as far as Burkett, I mean, he's a local kid that, we would like to see him there, but let's be honest, he's never going to play quarterback at Wisconsin.
I want him to get opportunity.
Yeah, and exactly.
It's just not going to be here.
Totally. But you said right before the show started, you expect a lot more outgoings, right? So how many, give me a number, like how many more players do you expect to see leave our team? Just a rough estimate, just off the top of your head.
I'll take a guess and say at least another 8.
Yeah, I was going to say 10.
Yeah, 8 to 10 is probably not shocking. I think there are guys who are going to play through the bowl game and then enter the portal.
Yeah. Again, it gives us an opportunity to fill holes, like you said. Like we obviously had issues this year, so let's fill those gaps. And speaking of filling those gaps, number 3 on the 3 big questions of the day, if you will, what's left on the docket for us to execute? So first of all, let's talk about who else we've brought in. So we talked about the front 7. We talked about me specifically linebacking. Well, we've got John Pius and we've got Leon Lowry. So we've already addressed linebackers, and of course we have Van Dyke. So first of all, what are your thoughts on the guys that have come in on Pius and Lowry? And then what's your next area that you want to see addressed?
I really like the infusion of athleticism from those 2 guys. I need to see what they do from an actual instincts standpoint in our defense. So it's hard to say from that standpoint. Now, they're outside linebackers, so the odds are they're going to be told to effectively just attack.
Pass rush. Yeah.
I think we still need to see something in the middle, the inside linebacker, especially with Turner leaving. I wouldn't be shocked if we get a safety. Like it wouldn't completely blow me away. Depending upon, I don't know what's going to happen with Wooler. Like he could very well decide, hey, I'm going to go pro. There's some interesting things there. We have some young bodies, but guys that don't have a lot of experience in that room. I think offensively, you have to get wide receivers. Like we have to find somebody who's capable of stretching the field and hopefully has a big body and is capable of running a decent route tree. Like I don't want somebody that's just going to be able to run straight down the field. Like you need to be able to if I need you to run a short route, you need to be able to be a guy who can body up and take it away. We need somebody who kind of opens things up for Green to work over the middle, because that's likely what his job is going to be. And hopefully now that he's got a year in the system, he'll look a lot better this year, but they need somebody who's got some jets that can take off and really stretch the field and make a defense work for it a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so I agree with you on the athleticism of Lowry and Pius. I think that's exactly what we need. Now, Pius, he played at William and Mary. And like I said before about Finn, you just never know how they're going to translate to the Big Ten, right? When these guys play at smaller schools, his numbers look good. The athleticism looks good. The film looks good. But you just really never know when they're playing that kind of increased competition. That being said, Leon Lowry has faced good competition. So he's a guy that I think will really translate and is going to start instantly on the outside. For me, I'm focusing on the lines. That's it's D line, and it's also offensive line. You just lost Bortolini, you just lost Wettig. Like, yes, we have people coming in from the recruiting class, but I want a little bit more. Like last year, how many times, Justin, did you say over and over, why is no one else coming in for Jack Nelson and Bortolini? No one else is getting playing time. Well, clearly the room wasn't deep enough.
Yeah.
So I want to add depth to the O-line too. And I haven't really talked about that much, but it's something that I've been thinking about the last few days. It's just like, let's get some O-linemen. Let's get some more beef up front, both lines. That's the one thing this needs. And I think that whoever the coach is, with Fickle, whatever, you need your lines. And Longo needed a better offensive line to execute his offense better. And of course, a different quarterback as well. And the defensive line, well, those, if you've watched any Badger games all year, that's a concern for us. So that's what I want to see, is both lines really addressed.
I'm very curious with that area, if the coaching staff is effectively like pushing off those conversations a little bit with some certain players. Like there's guys who have kind of hinted at they wanting to go in the portal, and the coaching staff saying, hey, let's talk about it after the bowl game. And we'll go from there at that point in time, because they don't want to have that room be gutted heading into the bowl game, which is a possibility. Like if you're the coaching staff, that's a smart thing to do.
Yeah.
And if as long as the portal's still open after, hey, give them one more game to play and then move on. But I would not be shocked if a couple of linemen leave, and I would not be shocked if we bring in a couple of guys.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, Wettig, our only guy that came off the bench, Wettig, is gone, and Bordeaux's gone. So like, it's already going to be a tough stretch. But yeah, I definitely think that. Any other positions, any other desires or wants out of the transfer portal? Any other comments about the transfer portal in general at all?
I know they brought in a tight end for a visit, and I'm hopeful that guy ends up joining the class here.
Yeah, we talked about that guy last time too. I always forget his name, but you
McGowan.
There you go.
Yeah, he's got some really impressive catches on his film, Jackson McGowan. If you have not checked him out, check out his huddle. There's not a lot of college. He was a freshman this last year, so there's nothing out there with LSU. But if you watch the footage, all those guys that we've watched play tight end for Iowa that we've been frustrated and like, how do they keep getting guys like this that end up turning into NFL studs? He looks like one of those guys, like super long, big body, athletic, capable of running up the seam and making plays, really good hands, really good body control for a guy his size. Like he legitimately kind of catches the ball like a wide receiver. And I would be really impressed if we get a guy like that in there, because I think he'd be ready to play. And we have guys coming in potentially, and we know we have Steck. There's potential that maybe somebody else will join the class prior to signing day. That is another athletic big body. And if that's the case, it takes the pressure off them a little bit. Those guys can season a little bit. And if they end up, either this year, hopefully after they get some practicing in, or next year, with a year under their belt, you have Ashcraft and potentially this guy if they come in there. But we definitely need to bump that room up. And I think that's one way of kind of taking some of the pressure off the wide receivers, is to bump up the tight end room and be able to use them as a weapon.
Yeah, that was certainly a hole for us this year. That was we never really got off the ground with a lot of injuries and things like that. But that's gonna do for us today, guys. We're planning a fun show this weekend for our weekend show, and also big day tomorrow. Wisconsin volleyball returns Final Four against Texas. They're playing tomorrow, and kudos to the athletic department. The Wisconsin basketball game got moved up in the day so that Badger fans could focus on the volleyball. I love that. I think that was a really cool move by the athletic department. Good job. They're playing Jacksonville State. One of the things that we talked about, Justin, I'll leave it here for you as well if you want to add in anything, is let's see some guys get minutes that haven't been out there. I want to see Connor take like 25 shots.
I think we will.
I think it's great. I mean, I'm glad Blackwell's been playing well. I'm all about that. But this is a team that you need to let's get Ilver out there a little bit. Let's get Connor out there a little bit. Let's get Winter some more minutes, not just 10. Let's get Winter 20, 25 minutes. Yeah. Hopefully our starters can get a nice big lead where we can really work on this. We have 2 games before the start of the Big Ten season. We have got Jacksonville State and Chicago State. These are really nice games to figure out, because the bench has to be kind of honed in now. So who's really going to be a part of that lineup and that rotation and who's not? So I think it's a big game for that. not much of a concern of losing here. I think that's really all we're looking for in these two games. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, it really is. This is an opportunity to get some seasoning for those guys, to get them some confidence. Like the biggest takeaway you have with Winter right now, offensively, he really needs some confidence. Like he needs to feel comfortable and confident that he can take people off the dribble, that he can pop, come off a screen and pop. Because if he can start hitting some threes, and if he is capable of using that shot fake and going by people, listen, he's athletic enough right now to offensively be able to up fake a big man and go by him.
Yeah,
like that, he is definitely capable of doing that. What he needs to learn is that he needs to have that confidence in that he can do it. And once that happens, it will open things up for him a lot.
Absolutely. All right, guys, thanks for listening. And again, Justin and I are so thankful as the holiday season's here. We both text each other a lot, and we talk about how excited we are that people are enjoying the show and leaving great comments. And some of you guys disagree with us, which is great. We love disagreements. Like we say on Locked On Badgers all the time, disagreements are great as long as they're just respectful. And we are so thankful for everyone that has listened to our show and watched us and commented and gave feedback. So thank you all very much. We will be back this weekend to talk about volleyball, to talk about basketball, to talk more about football and everything else. With that, on Wisconsin.
On Wisconsin.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoy the show, subscribe to our YouTube channel at The Bucky Report or The Bucky Report Podcast from wherever you get your content. Until next time, on Wisconsin.